Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy No Name. Do a little video right here. Little air quote. Y'all already know the deal. Let's say little. It's probably not gonna be that little, but you know what I mean. Uh, Last little burst of information I got to get out before we get to league start soon, right? So today, this video, gonna talk about some Atlas strats that I've seen that I kind of or not even just seen, some stuff I've heard, some stuff that I've done that I recommend checking out. And I've got one experimental idea that if nobody else here is gonna try it, I'm at least gonna try it later in the league. I just can't do it on league start. It doesn't really line up with the plan that I'm going for already, which my league start plan is not in this video. That'll be in a separate video paired with the build so that I can talk about like the actual plan for that first 7 days or so in one video. And then we'll talk about some builds in another video. And we'll be like, we'll be right around league start time. Let's get it. All right. So step one here on the screen, peep game. This is one of my favorite ways to league start Atlas, especially with some new modifications. This is a wandering path tree. If you don't know, wandering path. This keystone right here, it's positioned on the right side of the center wheel. Here you go. Notable Atlas passes grant nothing, and you get double effect of the smalls, which I remember when this came out, we were like, why? But this is a staple now. This is really, really good. So the core of this falls in a couple of places. One, 100% chance to drop a connected map, which so if you've seen people talk about their leveling Atlas strategy or their like early progression Atlas strategies, this right here is a large part of why wandering path. It's because you can guarantee one map drop per map, like guaranteed a map will drop. It might be a slight step back, unfortunately, but you can also get one up, right? Just a guaranteed map per map though is very good. It prevents that awkward problem of going negative on mass for a little while. Then you have the other things we talk about wandering path for like non-progression purposes, right? And it's like, why would you farm on this? Because this tree this is maximum points, right? This is a farming tree. 30% the map chance for map drops to be duplicated is incredible. Like one in every 3 maps gets duplicated. This includes like guardian maps, conqueror maps, unique maps, like the synth maps and whatnot, any map. So very high value, especially again, early league. You can even just sell excess T16s, and this can also dupe that force map I was talking about earlier, right? You drop a force 16 and then it duplicates, you get to see where you start seeing where this is going. And then the other major thing on the smallest is you'll notice we take pretty much every one of the travel passives on the tree, except the ones down here, so we only need 100% of this one. Up here, we have increased effect of modifiers on your maps. This means that your maps will get rippier when you start speccing into this. So this is my first warning. If you're looking at playing Wandering Path and your character's not strong, do not spec all of these small passives. Do that with caution. They add a lot of rippiness to your maps and a lot of quantum pack size. So that's why people do it, but you have to be careful. But once you're ready to do it, I mean, go for it. Go gung ho. It gets nuts. It gets nuts. We love it. All right. So now, what's the core of the rest of the strategy? Because there's a lot of points on here besides just the points that cover these 3 things. So let's just kind of go around a little bit by little bit. For most Atlas strategies, you'll always be focused on. For Atlas strategies, you'll always be doing one of the 3 influence options, right? Exarch, influence, eater, influence on the right, or maven. This tree is Exarch because it's early league, so bubblegum currency is king, and I'm not magic finding or anything. And so we do this again. We can't take any notables, which is why I'm not pathing super far into this part. I have a nice little preference towards this small passive in particular, due to it dropping Exarch implicit items. This can drop them as high as a T3 Icar, so a grand, which with the right rolls actually does sell a decent bit. It also just means I can see certain effects. For example, in leagues where melee strike skills are popular, cough cough, this league potentially. Gloves that come with +1 strike on them already are a pretty hot commodity. Just as a one example of things that you can sell because of this one little chance here. And I don't take a lot of points into it because it's just like a little sprinkle of something to see in my map here and there across all the monsters I kill. Pack size, and then this keystone is the first major part of this process. Searing Exarch has a 50% chance to have additional upside, but if it does have an additional upside, the downside is doubled, which means you get a lot better variety of options, which you're going to see your like, sextants, chaos, balls, etc. rewards a lot more often. In exchange, the downsides do get brutal. So be prepared for that, especially in tandem with the juiced up map mods. All right. That's like core Atlas stuff. Let's talk about the mechanics. The first step here is that the core of this is built around delirium and ghosts. How so, you might ask? Here's the plan. Ghosts first. You see these notes here: increased quantum dropped by monsters that are possessed or touched. So the plan is to possess ourselves with Speaker of the Dead for the incredible benefits that being ghosted provides. And then taking those benefits and touching enemies with it to then increase their quant. And that's the whole idea behind the ghost notes. It's just meant to make our maps faster, make us feel stronger. We love that feeling in our maps, and we just blaze through, getting more and more loot because of it. Combining this with delirium, because delirium makes monsters harder. So naturally, I would like to also be stronger. The important things of delirium are we take mirror spawn chance, which when you get deeper in, whether it be using a sextant to spawn your delirium or tendency on the map device, whichever you choose, pick the economically efficient option based on what you're doing for your full juice, or if you're even juicing that hard at all. But even without it, the spawn chance on delirium here is 48%. So it's still like, every other map you're gonna see delirium. Like I feel like I see delirium far more often than that, if I'm being honest. But we like this option, right? So we get delirium, we scale it. Something with unending fog is always a possibility. If you want a point for unending fog, by the way, you could either take it from the center wheel, you could take it from one of the connected map draws, you could take it from this back size, you could even take this little fun point off here. The idea is wandering path, specialize in all the reward progress nodes, cluster jewels, just stuff to make killing monsters feel even better, because that's the whole point of this, is that we're just going to be running maps for fun. This is the I sustain maps like crazy. I drop loot every so often. I'm not really trying to do anything super ridiculous. I just want to play the game and have a good time. Type a tree right here. And then to top it all off, we just add in some domination nodes. The shrines, because these 3 plus these 2 make 1 guaranteed shrine per map, which is very nice and very comfy. So this is the first of our trees. This is the bread and butter, a staple, a standard. It's very comfy, very cozy. Can't really go wrong with it. All right. Number 2 is, now we're going to talk about Wandering Path, but from a perspective that gets a little bit rippier. This is actually one of the strategies I employed last league during my Zero to Hero. It was my pre-high investment harvest setup, where instead of going notables and other stuff like that, you go small passes with Wandering Path yet again. And you'll notice the tree is almost identical to the last tree. Still have the ghosts in there to make clearing the map faster. Still have the shrine stuff. In fact, I took a little bit more shrine stuff actually to make it even more efficient. To really up my character power. The big thing is that harvest small passes are actually really good. Some of the nobles are also pretty good. Like Heart of the Grove is a good notable. Doubling Season is a good notable. There's another one that's really notable. Here we go. Bumper Crop is a good notable. However, all of your small passes for harvest, let me collapse this list on the right side here. By the way, this site is PoE Planner. Great site for planning the stuff out when you start to get your own cooked ideas. But you'll see we have 36% increased quant of life force and 12% chance to duplicate the monsters, which can spawn more life force, right? So that's all from small passives. So the small passives have an immense amount of effect. The biggest thing here is 60% chance to contain the Sacred Grove. And this is very, very good when you simply do not want to pay for the Sextant yet. Like when I moved off of Wandering Path, it was because my investment strategy was able to sustain paying for the Sextant. And I would not recommend using, you could use the 7th gate to pull this off, by the way. If instead of investing in all this chance, you wanted to just force it, 7th gate and 6 other points, just take them out of places at your leisure, probably the shrine points, and you could easily put force harvest on. I feel like plus 60 basically says forced. And that feels pretty good. And then we have the torment domination stuff just to make our map feel faster and better and more fast and furious, right? Feels good. this is a nice strategy. For both strategies, these strategies are very map clear focused. I would say for the deli focused strategy, you could really play any high map clearing build. You'll want to make sure that it is either reasonably tanky or reasonably high clear, because the rippiness of these modifiers when you start juicing them up, right? We're talking like in the ballpark of like -15, -17 all res, right? Like really pushing the barrier. If you're a build that's relying on recovery, what the 60% less recovery rate mod might have been somewhat playable for you before, 96% less isn't, right? So you really start to push the envelope on what your build needs to be capable of doing. And so for Deli, but especially for Harvest, if you're doing Wandering Path, you need to get your character solid. And that's kind of why like some of the points are spent on things that just make your character feel better, because these maps are hard. Like they will hurt, but they pay out very well, especially again, duplicated maps, lots of life force in this case, or just lots of drops in the other case on cluster jewels, right? That's the whole idea behind wandering path trees. Now, for a third tree, I want to start showing some non-wandering path stuff. I have 2 non-wandering path trees to show here as some ideas. This is a tree that I have done many times. It's now revamped and updated a bit to match the new atlas and some new ideas that have come into play since it came out. So here we go. Sorry, I need to take a breath here. Now, here's the core idea, right? We're still doing Exarch stuff, but now we have notables instead, right? Because again, notables are fine. Just the small passes were also fine. So we now have the notables for Exarch. This is a ritual plus delirium tree. I added in beyond this time. That's the big difference. Ritual Deli is a combination that I think I started running a couple of leagues ago in a private league with some friends, and we needed people farming delirium or ritual, my bad, because we were doing unique completion and we were still missing like Culture's regulator. So in farming ritual, I found that like delirium pairs really well with it, right? You know, ritual, large amount of enemies, Deli buffs large groups of enemies to give more loot. Perfect harmony, right? And it worked out very well. They're very close to each other on the tree. They're very harmonious. So a very high investment in both of them. You'll see here I'm on pretty much every deli wheel except for this one, and that's because in this setup we're actually going to be forcing our mirrors either through the sextant or through the map device, whichever one is better. Now on the other side of things, we have ritual, which ritual can also be forced via sextant or the device. And so you can pick one or the other that way, pick your favorite. However, you can also force ritual through vessels, like blood-filled vessels when they're full. So, you know, you have your options on what you want to do in order to get into your league mechanics. The ritual nodes are pretty strong just all together. Like ritual is one of those things that I feel like you just go all in or all out. There's not a lot of reason not to take pretty much everything. Now, here's the ritual thing that I've been playing around with, and I'll leave this as a question, as a bit of an open-ended experimentation point, because obviously I need to do some testing. But arbitrary tenants is very fascinating to me, just because I like the lottery machine aspect of it. But there is a world where immutable dogma can be very good. And I'll like kind of propose both options to you guys as something to like experiment with. So what I recommend for immutable dogma is maybe a setup where you stack chance of special reward ritual altars, and you also look for, you know, particularly vessel alt like maps. Like instead of running for regular ritual altars, you're running with 2 to 4 vessels a map, really throwing that amount of juice through the roof so that when you hit the special reward screen, you can basically just control click to clear it all out, kind of like you do with vendor in a video game, right? Or like when you're looting a body, just take all, right? That's kind of the idea behind what I think immutable dogma would be good for. Don't know if that's to be true, something that can be tested, but I'm more fascinated with arbitrary tenants because it plays very nicely with the re-rolling playstyle that we already know and love for ritual, you know, and that's something that I recommend pretty highly checking out. Now, one other note about ritual: this stud right here is not actually optional, and it's because of these small passives. These small passives make heist or ritual so much faster. Sorry, I was just cycling through League mechanics that have are annoyingly long times of resolution. Any door enjoyers, by the way? Any plant readers out there? Like, okay, so these are ritual nodes that are good. Delhi, kind of covered why Delhi's good already. We're doing it again with the mirror thing. If you want to orb your maps, this is also like you could just take off this keystone and maybe add some points like on the bottom side here, maybe up here to the left. But I'm looking at mirror stuff because like I don't want to buy orbs. I'm gonna be honest with you. Buying orbs on trade is infuriating. And farming up a meaningful amount of orbs in SSF is kind of difficult for any sustained strategy that uses more than one at a time. Now the rest of what I'm looking at here is beyond nodes and heist. So we'll start with heist. Heist nodes are very simple. You just click on the cache and you get a ton of blueprints and contracts. Both of these notables are extremely strong to the point where I am probably going to have a PLB come out or a Atlas planning tree at some point come around with 7th gate just so I can force heist on if I really wanted that extra consistent source of currency, because it's a very consistent source of of currency at pretty much all times. Then additionally, we have, Seance, because why not? It's just free quant. And now here's the kicker. Beyond. This was the real addition to this tree. In the past, I didn't run Beyond, and it's because I actually didn't like the way the Beyond worked. This new Keystone Endless Tide solves Beyond for me. Beyond bosses cannot spawn. This is a huge, I cannot stress this enough, huge buff to Beyond for me, because if you didn't know, a unique Beyond boss spawning ends the actual mechanic, but as far as I've been able to tell thus far, the bosses themselves do not drop enough currency to warrant them ending the mechanic. So instead of getting an early boss spawn and fucking your mechanic and potentially fucking your map, we're just gonna turn them all off. And the blessed portal merging radius is brutal, but it's better than having a boss end the thing. We're gonna test it out some, but I have the investment in Beyond, as well as I chose the currency node for Baydat up here. No idea which one is most optimal. These are new, but I think it could be fun to play around with something of this nature. You're gonna notice there's a theme here as we talk today about this, which is that a lot of it is what I think is going to be fun. And I have a point about that after this next one here. This is the for fun idea right here. I cannot promise that this will make you any amount of real currency. I don't even know the strategy in full yet because we don't have all the information I need in order to really calculate the workout. But let me just put the idea in your brain so that you can then curse the gods when you think of it. Here, so Vol side areas. I used to have both Vol side area nodes, and then lucid dreams. And I'm hoping that I can force lucid area or these lucid dreams, right? Being able to force a single room nightmare is a very, very big affliction, apparently, and we'll see what that means in terms of Baldur's Gate. But here, being able to turn off the corruption of our side areas is a huge buff. We've let our imagination wander long enough. We need to get the loot out of these side areas, and we're going to do it through lucid dreams in the combination with the unimaginable horrors. Unimaginable horrors is kind of to the same effect of what I like about the metamorph node. Find specimens, makes the boss ripier with a chance to duplicate their rewards from the vessel. And this is very important that it duplicates from the vessel because the side areas have modifiers that alter the rewards that the vessel contains, including things like a vessel contains a incursion piece of jewelry, or a vessel contains a ultimatum aspect, right? As those options are both a thing, I'm very intrigued by this option to have rolling capabilities plus a potential doubler on vault side areas. And so when I was building the rest of this tree out, I was thinking, how do we run around through maps efficiently here, right? This is mostly a next map type of angle, which means essence you can never go wrong with, heist you can never go wrong with, seance you can never go wrong with, map drops from bosses you can never go wrong with, and yeah, I did in fact take a map node. Then there's a little bit of shrine investment to make my maps go by faster. And so that's the core of this idea. You're going to pull up to the wall side area, maybe roll it a little bit, maybe not. I don't know. Again, you got to figure out how I think about the clunkiness of it, because I didn't do a whole lot of box rolling in the past, but I also didn't think box rolling turned out to be profitable. Now, this is always possible that like you start rolling these small side areas until you hit ultimatum aspect and you're making bungo profit. Who knows, right? Like we kind of need to see when we get the patch, but this is just one of those ideas I wanted to put out there. And so I want to end the video on a note to you as a viewer, right? All the stuff that I've shown, and I have the links for the planners that I've created in the description down below. But the note I want to leave you with is that at the end of the day, the best Atlas strategy for you is the strategy that's going to let you play 4 or 6 hours a day, right? The strategy that makes you want to log in and doesn't make you hate playing the game. And that's always going to be the most efficient strategy. It does not matter if you can make 7 hours, save an hour doing this strategy if you absolutely hate it and do it a third of the time, as opposed to playing like you would doing a strategy at only 4 Dav an hour, for example, right? Like the understanding of, your enjoyment is worth more than the monetary optimization angle. And so that's why I have some of these trees in here that are not particularly effective at any one thing, because I just like them, right? They just, like that Deadly Torment one, I have no idea if it's even going to work, but it's going to be fast and I'm going to love it, right? That's kind of the idea. I want you guys to feel inspired in the chase of fun primarily over the chase of resource, because the resources will come with just playing the game. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.